Starting off, we have Cody Durden. I think Cody Durden should fight Ray Soria next. Soria looked pretty good in his last outing, and it doesn't seem like he fights too often based on his record and schedule, which means their schedule should be able to match up, and Cody Durden might need some time to recover as well. And if UFC Japan ever happens, and the UFC books Kyoji Horiguchi and Tatsuro Tairo, we could put this on the same card as both of them trains together. Cody Durden trains with Kyoji Horiguchi, and Ray Soria is obviously Tatsuro Tairo's teammate. And next up, we have Alessandro Costa. Let's give him Charles Johnson. I think Johnson needs a bit of a step down in competition, and Costa deserves another shot at the rankings after coming off a 3-fight winning streak. Based on their styles, I think it will be a very entertaining fight. I could see both of them being able to pull this off, given Costa does have the grappling advantage. And people forget, man, he had a pretty crafty decision loss to Steve Erceg, which was pretty close a few fights back. And it will be a good scrap after all. Next up, we have Zachary Reese. Honestly, not exactly sure what to do with him, but looking at the UFC's recent trends, I would not be surprised if they book him against the likes of Ateba Gautier as a sacrificial lamb. And if that happens, RIP Zach Reese. We will remember him. Moving on, we have Ryan Gondra. Let's put him against someone like Marc-Andre Barriault. It seems like the UFC is trying to build him as a prospect, and I'd say that would be a good way to do it. But other than that, I don't really care. I don't think you guys care that much either. So we're going to move on to the next guy. John Garza. I'm honestly going to skip him for now, as we're not even sure if he will have another fight in the UFC. I do hope he gets a contract though. He displayed good skills and heart, and he definitely belongs, as he fought very well against a so-and-so top 10 fighter in the bantamweight division. And now we have the winner of the fight, Farid Basra. I just rebooked the fight against between him and Ethan Ewing. I think Ewing would take that fight against in the heartbeat, as he seems to be sexually attracted to smoking undefeated fighters. Honestly, if that fight had happened, I think Ewing would have destroyed Basra. This guy really is ranked number 10 now for no good reason whatsoever. But yeah, I hope the UFC makes this fight next. It will put Ewing in the top 10, and we are going to get the belt at some point. Moving on. Oh, he's extended. Moving on, we have Cesar Almeida. Unfortunately for him, he just got a huge load from Pinas, who released everything onto his chin violently and aggressively. That was a very brutal KO loss, and I think he's going to need a lot of time off. Another person that recently came off a brutal loss could match up the timeline with him. That's the Cesar Almeida versus Andre Puliev. It should be a relatively competitive fight, but I will pick Almeida to win. And next, Damian Pinas. He had a great call out after knocking out Almeida. And I'd say let's go with this suggestion and do him versus Baisangoru Sosakayev. Two very exciting prospects, with Pinas having a 100% finishing rate. He finishes in his opponents, and Sosakayev also only have gone to decision once in his entire MMA career. It will be such an exciting prospect versus prospect fight, and it's interesting stylistically as well. I think Sosakayev is quite open on the feet, as he fucks around a lot, he taunts a lot, he leaves himself vulnerable, but he definitely has the grappling advantage where he could maybe squeeze Pinas into submission. I like that the UFC are starting to put certain prospects together, like how we have Tommy McMillan versus Alberto Montes this upcoming weekend as well. And let's do Damian Pinas versus Baisangoru Sosakayev. Next up, we have Tracy Cortez. I mean, don't really care. Like to see Tracy Cortez maybe fight Casey O'Neill or something. Seems like Cortez is constantly given higher ranked opponents, as the UFC probably wants to push her onto a big stage as much as they can. But you just can't hang with them. Let's do her versus Casey O'Neill and call it a day. And next up is the winner, Wang Tong. I like to see Wang Tong versus Rose Namajunas. Rose came up with a super disappointing performance against Erin Blanchfield and definitely needs to step down. I think this would be a decent fight in WMA standards, as long as Wang Tong bring the fight to Rose, and Rose won't be able to just dance around and avoid action. If this fight does happen, I hope Wang Tong wins and chins Valentina Shevchenko after. Absolutely terrorist of a sport. Next up, we have Kai Kamaka III. Let's do him versus the Korean McGregor Jo Sang-yu. He hasn't fought since being chinned by Daniel Santos on UFC 320. I think he's coming back soon. It'll be a good scrap on the feet and pretty high level as well. And we're going to move on to the winner, Luke Riley. Luke Riley actually looked very impressive against Kai Kamaka III, and he should be getting a bit of a step. Let's do Luke Riley versus Sean Woodson. It's time, my brother. It's time for the Scouser to send Sean Woodson packing back to Area 51. And if he beats Woodson, he definitely deserves a shot at the ranking. Next up with Cody Garbrandt. I honestly think Cody should just retire. He took a lot of damage in this fight, and obviously his title aspiration has been long gone. If he were to stick around, I think him and Ricky Simon could be potentially a good fight. They both lost Adrian Yanez, even though on paper, Simon was a draw, but, you know, I'd say Cody should just retire. But if he were to stick around, he should fight Ricky Simon. Next, I think an interesting fight with Adrian Yanez could be Marlon Chito Vera. Now that Vera is out of the rankings, but he's still a big recognizable name. Yanez deserves a step up, and Chito definitely deserves a step down. I also believe this is a very winnable fight for both, especially Chito with his durability. And if Yanez wins, he deserves another shot at the rankings for sure. He looks like he has caught a second wind and is on a bit of a run again. Next up, we have Elijah Ellison. He's 0-2 in the UFC, and I'm honestly not even sure if he's going to have another fight in the organization. I'm not going to matchmake him here, and I don't think you guys care too much either. Next up, we have Graypo Stevenson. I think we should match him up next with Shamil Gaziev, the ice cream truck himself. It would be a decent step up in competition. I do think he deserves a shot at it. I do not think he deserves a shot at the ranking yet. Because if anything, Brando Peritage beat Elijah Ellison faster and more impressively. Plus, knowing him being John Jones' teammate, Lil would definitely try to build his career as safely as possible. That's Graypo Stevenson versus Shamil Gaziev. Moving on to Nikita Krylov. Honestly, Krylov had taken a good amount of damage in this fight. But according to Dana White himself, apparently his jaw wasn't broken. So I think we could do Nikita Krylov versus Ivo Baranowski next. Should be an interesting fight, and it will be a step up for Ivo Baranowski and could build him up towards the ranking as well. And next, we have Whitaker, who just won against Krylov. He looked pretty good in his light heavyweight debut. Let's do Whitaker versus Bogdan Guzkov. I would honestly love for him to fight against Jamal Hill or Khalil Roundtree. But Hill is unfortunately moving to heavyweight. Not looking great, by the way. You guys should check out my video talking about Jamal Hill as a champion. And Roundtree should be fighting Ankalaev soon. I've also heard that Volkan Oezdemir would be taking on Navajo Sterling. And Gusov is ranked number 10 in the meta ranking, so I think it would be a good fight for Whitaker. And honestly, these AI rankings really suck and needs to be fixed. Moving on, we have Terrence McKinney. Let's put Terrence McKinney against Manuel Torres, who also lost and got finished in his last fight. Both of them had some of the shortest average fight time in the UFC history, and it will be absolute fireworks for one round before everything ends. It seems like Torres will probably take a few months to recover, and that should match Terrence McKinney's schedule. This will be a banger for sure, and it probably will not even go past 20 seconds, let alone a round. Next, we have the winner, Robert King Green. I'm sure everyone already saw the call out, and I think that is the perfect fight to make. Let's do Bobby Green versus Dan Hooker, a battle of the OGs. Green is now on a 4-fight winning streak and deserves another shot at the rankings, while Dan Hooker just lost his last 2 fights pretty brutally. But it was against good competition with the likes of BSD and Arman Sarukian. Bobby Green versus Dan Hooker, make it happen. It will be a great scrap. Next, we have Loner Kavanagh. Kavanagh just lost in the fight of the night against Brandon Royval, and I think he needs a bit of a step down in competition. I think the UFC should make him fight Amir Albazi next. Get Albazi out of the rankings after he loses it, and it will be a good opportunity for Kavanagh to bounce back. Albazi is still a dangerous fight as he's much bigger than Loner Kavanagh, but the speed and skill difference is just immense. Albazi really should not be ranked number 8, and they should fix it by putting him against Kavanagh. Next up, we have Brandon Royval. Great win against Loner Kavanagh, and he looked very, very good. His jab was sharp, and his grappling was on point. Royval called out Asuya Mabayev, and I believe that is the fight to make next. For now, I would say it is a very winnable fight for Royval, but Amabayev's grappling really is high level. It will be a great high level fight for sure. Now moving on to the bantamweight division. We have Corey Sandhagen. Sandhagen just suffered a leg injury against Mario Bautista and probably needs some time to recover. I think he could fight David Martinez next. And no, I'm not talking about the guy from CP, Cyberpunk, as Martinez also pulled off his upcoming fight against Umar Nurmagomedov because of an injury. I am assuming that their timeline could match up for a potential showdown between them. And next up is the winner, Mario Bautista. Honestly, Bautista is in an interesting position as we're still waiting for Jan versus Merab 3 to be announced. Jan is still going through the recovery of her back surgery, and I believe that's why the fight hasn't been made yet, and it's honestly holding up the division quite a bit. Because especially in Bautista's case, he can't fight Sean O'Malley as their teammates, I'm pretty sure, and he can't fight Merab because Merab should be fighting for the title next, and he can't fight Umar because he already lost to him in the top 5. I think we could do him potentially versus Raoni Barcelos, and if Bautista wins, he should get a title shot. Moving on. Man, BST just got submitted by Paddy Pimblett within the first seconds of the fight. It was a brutal loss, and he didn't take much damage as... It was a brutal loss, but he didn't take much damage as there were barely any strikes landed. I think he should just fight Rafael Fiziev next, who came off a nasty Will Cook KO. It should be a banger of a fight, and honestly, both could win this. Fiziev has amazing takedown defense and dangerous striking that could be bad for BSD. On the other hand, BSD pushes an insane pace, and Fiziev is known to slow down during his fights. It would be an interesting stylistic matchup where both could take home the win. Next, we have the winner, Paddy the Baddy Pimblett. Extremely impressive victory from Paddy. Hate to say that, I told you so. If you haven't seen it, go watch my breakdown of this fight and you will see that I've called this. Y'all gotta start paying attention to my videos because I predict these things. But the only logical fight next for Paddy Pimblett is against Ilia Topuria. The build-up will be crazy, and I've seen other MMA YouTubers saying that they should do a tough season with these two. Let's make it happen. Paddy versus Ilia next. Lastly, we have Max Holloway. It might be a hot take when I say this, but I do think they should do a rematch between Max Holloway and Conor McGregor to close this chapter once and for all, since McGregor has one last fight on his contract and he reaffirmed recently as he's going to fight and he's going to come back after he recovers after he has his surgery. And honestly, if Holloway wants to take another fight in the meantime while McGregor recovers, we can put him against the Brazilian Conor McGregor, Mauricio Rufy. The way the fight ended was very unfortunate, and I believe the fans deserve closure. If you guys have really made it this far, thank you guys so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and peace.